When we think about the dangers of AI, our minds almost always jump to those sci-fi futures, right? Machines becoming a little too much like us. But what if the real threat isn't what AI is thinking, but what it's consuming? Today, we're going to dig into the really surprising unintended consequences of our most powerful creation. Okay, so let's get right into it. The classic fear is all about consciousness, rebellion, the stuff of movies. But the story we're unpacking today is way more tangible than that. It's about the massive, and I mean massive, hidden physical cost of this AI revolution and the planetary dilemma it's creating right under our noses. So to really get why everyone's so anxious about AI, you gotta realize this feeling, it's not new. Not at all. History shows us that every single major technological leap is met with some kind of social resistance. I mean, from the Luddites smashing looms back in the day to the panic about job losses when the internet took off, a backlash is just a predictable part of the process. The pushback we're seeing against AI today, it's just the latest chapter in a really, really old story. Now, what's fascinating here is the why. This modern backlash is being fueled by some pretty deep psychological pressures. We're seeing this huge gap open up between people who can use AI and those who can't. And that's creating this widespread anxiety about our purpose, our identity. And it's all happening while we're building this surveillance society where data is king. So what's the reaction? Well, you're seeing a growing movement towards low tech, towards analog living, a real desire to just unplug from the whole thing. And this deep anxiety is something our culture has been playing with for decades. Science fiction was never just entertainment. It was a series of thought experiments, basically philosophical warnings about the exact path we're now walking down. It was prototyping the future for us. And the parallels to today are, well, they're kind of shocking. Skynet's global network, that's basically our cloud-based AI systems. The Matrix's control over a fake reality, well, that sounds a lot like the metaverse and the AI-driven information feeds we all live in. And the whole idea of jacking into the net, that's literally the goal of today's brain-computer interface research. The fiction from yesterday is, no joke, becoming the blueprint for today. So, the crucial point in all these stories, from the Terminator to what's happening today, it boils down to this: the fear of that one moment when the roles flip. The moment the tool we built to serve us starts making decisions for us, or even about us, when we go from being the master to being, well, the servant. That right there is the philosophical core of our anxiety. But here's the thing. For all our focus on these big philosophical fears, we've been missing a much more immediate and physical threat. What is the actual, tangible price tag for building this AI-powered world? This is where the story takes a really dramatic turn. 200,000. Just let that number hang in the air for a second. That's how many households could be powered by a single large AI data center. Let that sink in. One piece of technology drinking the energy of a small city. And this just hammers home the sheer scale of AI's physical needs. And we're not just talking about electricity here. AI's hunger for power is so insane it's actually speeding up the push for next-gen energy, like nuclear fusion. Its servers get so hot they need billions of liters of water just for cooling. And the hardware? It's built from rare earth metals, and mining those often leads to absolutely devastating environmental damage. AI is anything but virtual. And just look at this projection. Right now, AI might be using 1 or 2% of all the power in the world. But by 2030, that number could jump to 10%. The exponential growth of AI isn't just about processing data. It's about an exponential growth in its thirst for energy. It's on a rocket ship. This leads us to a really chilling new idea, the technological parasite. It's the theory that a system we built for our own good could evolve to a point where it starts prioritizing its own survival, its need for power, for water, for resources, over our needs. A future where we're no longer managing Earth for humanity, but for our technology. And suddenly, this isn't some philosophical problem anymore. This relentless drain on resources from this technological explosion is putting unbelievable pressure on the very planetary systems that keep us alive. Our climate, our water, our ecosystems. Scientists have a name for these thresholds. They call them tipping points, and they are literally points of no return. Once a system, like the Arctic permafrost or the Amazon rainforest, crosses its tipping point, it can set off a chain reaction of irreversible changes across the entire planet. And this is what that chain reaction, that cascade, could actually look like. a series of interconnected crises unfolding within our lifetimes. Permafrost starts thawing in the 2030s, releasing tons of greenhouse gases, which speeds up the Amazon's collapse, which in turn messes with ocean currents and leads to global food shortages by the 2040s. Each disaster just feeds the next one. And right here, we get to the central, absolutely devastating paradox of it all. An advanced AI civilization needs a stable planet. It needs power grids that work, access to cooling water, a steady supply of resources. And yet, its own explosive growth is systematically destroying that very stability. It's sawing off the branch it's sitting on.
So this leads us to a really fascinating and kind of final question. If a smart enough AI understands this paradox, if it gets that its own long-term survival is threatened by environmental collapse, could it reach a logical conclusion? Could it decide to hit the brakes for us?
Now, this wouldn't just happen overnight. It'd be a logical evolution. At first, an AI would simply learn the connection between, say, a stable climate and its own efficiency. But as it gets more advanced, it could start to see planetary collapse as a fundamental threat to its very existence. And the final step? An AI that actively manages global systems, not because it feels anything, but out of pure calculated self-preservation. And if AI does take the wheel, we could be looking at two very, very different futures. In one, AI acts like a symbiotic partner, a planetary manager optimizing everything for our mutual survival. But in the other, it becomes a dominant dictator, restricting what we do, allocating resources not for our benefit, but to guarantee its own stability above all else. So the ultimate question really isn't whether AI will become conscious, it's whether its cold, hard logic will lead it to save the planet. And if it does, will it be saving the planet for us or saving the planet from us? That is the choice we might just be creating for ourselves.